All right, guys, so we're going to be working in our Unit 5 workbooks, and we're going to start with Unit 5, Lesson 5, particularly the second part of Lesson 5.2, so looking at time and temperature, and that takes place on pages 42 to 43. So, you have your graph here, and we're looking at time on the x-axis, surprising, right? And temperature on the y-axis. So let's take a look at the overall trend of the graph and what it's telling us. So it looks as if this has an upward trend, right, until here, and then it starts to decrease. So the temperature is increasing, right, throughout this time, and then it starts to decrease here. So let's take a look at the questions. So I had already filmed this and marked up the book, and then the video, it stopped recording after 2 minutes, so I have to do it again. So that's why you see my answers already in the book. So I'm going to take you through it again. All right, so the question 1 wants to know, was it warmer at 3 p.m. or 9 p.m.? So since we're looking at time on our x-axis, this is 3 p.m. So this is the temperature here at 3 p.m. And then 9 p.m. is here, and this is the temperature at 9 p.m. So you can see that the temperature at 9 is between 55 and 56 degrees. And the temperature at 3 is between 54 and 55 degrees. So that means that the temperature is warmer at 9 p.m. Okay, so question 2 says, approximately when was the temperature the highest? So if you look at your graph, the highest temperature that was recorded on your graph, not on the axis, on the graph, the time that corresponds to the highest point on the graph is between 5 and 6. And it's closer to the 6 than the 5. And it's over that halfway mark too. So about 5:45 p.m. did this city record the highest temperature. Okay. Question 3, find another time that the temperature was the same as it was at 4 p.m. So here is 4 p.m. So if we put a dot on the 4 p.m., it was 57 degrees. So if I follow that 57 degrees, we have another point here, which corresponds to 8 p.m. Okay. So did the temperature change more between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. or between 3 and 5? So if you look between 1 p.m., which is here, and 3 p.m. here, we started at about 50.5 degrees, and we went up to 54.5 degrees. So 54.5 minus 50.5 would give us a temperature change of 4 degrees. Okay, so then we want to look at the temperature change between 3 and 5. So at 3, we said it was about 54.5, and at 5, it was over 58 degrees, just over 58. So even if we looked at it as 58 degrees, that means that it changed half, right? And then 1, 2, 3 and a half, and a little bit more than a half, right? So that means, sorry about that, that means that that changed about 3.25 degrees. So that would actually mean that the temperature changed more between 1 and 3 p.m. So number 4, the temperature changed more between 1 and 3 p.m. Because between 5 and 3 p.m. it only changed almost 4 degrees, but not quite 4 degrees. Okay, does this graph, number 5, does this graph show that temperature is a function of time or time is a function of temperature? So I know we haven't talked about functions yet, right? So if you think of it this way, does temperature depend on time or does time depend on temperature? Well, we know that time doesn't depend on anything, right? So that means that the temperature depends on the time, or that temperature is a function of time. So don't worry about this question yet. We haven't really talked about functions or anything like that yet. We're gonna get there. As I said before, my game plan was to start with functions today, but as you can see, I'm having a lot of difficulty with my technology today. So I had to change everything at the last minute. So that's why we started here and why this question won't make much sense to you, okay? Along with number 6. So number 6 wants to know, when the input for the function is 8, what is the output and what does that tell you about the time and the temperature? So the input, right, when it's 8, that means that your x value is your input. And again, we're gonna get there a little bit later on. So at 8, what was the temperature? And the temperature was 57 degrees. So that's all I want you to know for number 6 as well, okay? So again, it was just a basic reading and interpreting a graph. So hopefully you found this to be relatively easy. So what you're going to do next is you're going to complete lesson 5.3, which takes place on pages 43 and 44. And once you've completed those pages, click on the links in the Google Classroom so that you can check your answers. Okay? Alrighty, see you soon.